She walked into the forest barefoot, naked, and alone, and the world never saw her again. No body, no trail, no answers, just silence, and a family left behind to carry the unbearable weight of not knowing. This is the story of Liza Dela Cruz, a 21-year-old Filipina girl from Davao City who went into the forest on a spiritual quest and simply vanished. Welcome to Exposed True Crime Stories. If you believe every missing person deserves to be remembered, please subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a case. Someone out there knows something, and together we might help find the truth. Let's get into it. Liza Dela Cruz was born in March 2001 in Davao City, Mindanao, the vibrant, energetic city known as the crown jewel of Mindanao. She was only 21 years old when she disappeared. Her family called her Liza, but her closest friends called her Lizing, a soft, warm nickname that suited her perfectly. She was the kind of person who made every room feel lighter just by walking into it. Liza grew up in a tight-knit Filipino household with her mother, Nanay Cora, and her younger brother, Benji. Her father had passed away when she was just 9 years old, and from that moment on, Liza leaned heavily into faith, nature, and music to carry her through the grief. She attended Rizal Memorial Colleges in Davao City, where she was known for being thoughtful, gentle, and deeply philosophical. Classmates remember her as someone who always had a kind word ready, someone who would stop whatever she was doing just to make sure you were okay. Liza was a deeply spiritual person. She believed that human beings are born fully connected to the earth, to nature, to each other, to something greater than themselves, and that over time, modern life slowly pulls us away from that connection. She spoke about this often. She sang about it. She wrote about it in the little notebook she carried everywhere she went. When she wasn't in class, Liza loved to hike, play the guitar, and post videos online. She had a small but loyal following on social media, where she shared music covers, nature walks, and quiet reflections on life. She was thoughtful. She was radiant. She was loved. And in the summer of 2022, she made a decision that would change everything. On the first week of June 2022, Liza posted on Facebook asking if any of her friends with cars were free to go camping over the coming weekend. She had been talking for months about going on what she called a spiritual quest, a solo journey into nature to reconnect with herself and with the earth. Her half-sister, Nina, later recalled that Liza had called her a few days before the trip, asking if she could borrow some camping gear. Nina said that during that call, Liza sounded like herself, excited, happy, full of life. She was looking forward to this trip more than anything. What Nina did not know, what none of them knew, was that this would be the last time she would ever hear Liza's voice. Liza found a ride and a small group of friends willing to join her. Among them, her close friend Gina Buenaventura, who had known Liza since their early college days and understood her love for nature better than almost anyone. On June 9, 2022, they made the drive to the Marilog District, a mountainous, heavily forested area on the outskirts of Davao City. The campsite they chose sat on the edge of a vast national forest, thousands and thousands of acres of old-growth trees, dense brush, and rugged terrain that stretches further than the eye can ever follow. The weather was warm and pleasant when they arrived, around 24 degrees Celsius. Perfect afternoon for camping. Perfect afternoon to feel alive. Nobody in that group could have imagined what was about to happen. The afternoon passed quietly. The group settled into the campsite, enjoyed the surroundings, and simply existed together, the way only good friends can. Then, at around 5 o'clock in the evening, Liza stood up. Without warning, without hesitation, she began to remove her clothes, every piece, including her shoes. Her friends were stunned. She told them calmly, as though it were the most natural thing in the world, that it was time. Time for her spiritual quest. She grabbed a small fanny pack. Inside it, a folded map, a pocket knife, and a box of matches. She turned to face the forest. She looked back at her friends one last time, and she smiled. Then she walked into the trees and disappeared. Her friends stood there, unsure of what to say or do. According to Sheriff Danilo Aguirre of the Marilog District Station, Liza had been talking about this quest for so long that her friends genuinely believed she knew what she was doing. They trusted her. They let her go. She promised she would be back by midnight. She never came back. As the hours crept by, the temperature began to drop. The sky opened up and it started to rain. Lightly at first and then steadily. Liza's friends grew uneasy. She was out there with nothing. No clothes, no shelter, no food or water. When midnight came and went and there was still no sign of her, they made the call. At around 12:30 in the morning, they contacted the Marilog District police station to report Liza missing. A search party was put together quickly, and at first there was real hope. Rescuers found barefoot tracks close to the campsite, small, clearly Liza's. They followed the tracks deeper into the forest, past thick roots and uneven ground, and the prints led them all the way to a shallow creek not far from the campground. It was remarkable. The path from the campsite to the creek involved a steep and rocky descent, the kind of terrain that would challenge someone wearing proper hiking boots. And Liza had done it barefoot, in the dark, in the rain. The tracks showed she crossed the creek without apparent difficulty. Then rescuers followed her path up the other side, another steep incline, until the footprints eventually led toward Forest Road 54, a well-paved road cutting through the tree line. And that was where the trail ended. Her footprints stopped at the road. Just like that. No sign of where she went. No indication of a struggle. No clues. No proof of anything. She had simply ceased to exist at the edge of that road. Search and rescue teams from Davao City called in tracking dogs to help pick up Liza's scent. The dogs followed the trail through the forest, over the creek, up the canyon, and then, at Forest Road 54, they stopped. They could not pick up her scent beyond that point. Rescuers were baffled. If Liza had continued walking down that road barefoot, her scent should still have been detectable. The dogs were trained. They were thorough. And yet they found nothing. The following morning, rescuers hoped to bring in helicopters to cover more ground from above. But a thick layer of cloud had settled over the mountains overnight, making aerial search impossible. The teams on the ground pressed on, through the mud, through the dense undergrowth, through trails that had never been mapped. Local hunters who volunteered to help later said that the brush in that area was so heavy that a person could be lying on the ground just a few meters away and you would walk right past them without ever knowing. That thought was heartbreaking. It still is. At 6 o'clock in the evening on June 15, 2022, just 6 days after Liza had walked into the forest, the official search was called off. Not a single trace of her had been found. Nene Cora could not accept it. No mother could. She went to every media outlet that would listen. She begged. She pleaded. She stood in front of cameras with trembling hands and tearful eyes and asked the public, hunters, farmers, hikers, anyone who spent time in those mountains, please keep looking. Please do not forget my daughter. Her appeal worked. Within days, the search was restarted, and volunteers from across Davao City joined the effort. People who had never met Liza before showed up with machetes, first aid kits, and flashlights to walk the forest in her name. But it was not enough. Many people watching this case were, and still are, deeply frustrated by the decision to suspend the official search after less than 48 hours. No explanation was ever given to the public. And while we should believe that law enforcement had their reasons, it is difficult to reconcile that choice with the reality of a 21-year-old girl who was out there, somewhere, without food, water, or shelter. Every hour mattered. Every hour was a chance. And yet the search was stopped. In the years since Liza's disappearance, those closest to the case and those watching from a distance have offered several possible explanations. None of them are easy to hear. The first, and most widely accepted, is that Liza got lost in the forest as the temperature dropped and the rain began to fall. Without clothes, without shelter, exposed to the cold and wet through the night, she may have succumbed to hypothermia. In the thick undergrowth of that old-growth forest, her body could easily remain undiscovered, particularly if wildlife had reached her first. It is a painful thought, but it is the theory that Sheriff Aguirre himself found most credible. He stated clearly that there was no evidence of drug or alcohol use, that she appeared to have been a young woman driven purely by the belief that this was something she was meant to do. The second theory centers on Forest Road 54. Her footprints led there and went no further. The search dogs found no scent beyond the road. This has led many people to believe she never crossed it, that either she followed the road in one direction and eventually re-entered the forest elsewhere, or that someone found her there. A naked, barefoot young woman standing on the edge of a forest road in the middle of the night. Vulnerable. Alone. What might someone with bad intentions have done? This theory has been met with caution by investigators, who say there is no concrete evidence of foul play. But it is a theory that refuses to go away. The third theory, one that brings a complicated kind of hope, is that Liza chose to disappear. That she decided, somewhere between the campsite and the road, that she did not want to go back. That she wanted to start over, somewhere new, somewhere quiet. Her friend Gina Buenaventura, one of the people who had been at that campsite the night Liza walked away, said in an interview that it was always possible Liza simply got lost in herself and had no desire to return. Some sources suggest Liza had mentioned, in the days before the trip, that she might not want to be found. But those who truly knew her find this impossible to believe. Because Liza Dela Cruz loved her Nene Cora. She loved her brother Benji. She was not the kind of person who would let the people she loved spend years drowning in grief and uncertainty without reaching out. And she never did. More than 2 years have passed since Liza walked into the forest above Marilog District. No trace of her has ever been found. Not a piece of clothing from the fanny pack. Not a footprint beyond Forest Road 54. Not a single answer. Nene Cora still keeps Liza's guitar in the corner of the living room. She still leaves the light on some nights, the way she used to when Liza would come home late from hiking. She is a mother waiting for a daughter who has not come home, and she may never get the closure she so deeply deserves. Liza's case is sometimes associated with what researchers call Missing 411, a category of disappearances in national forests and wilderness areas that share unusual characteristics. Victims who vanish without a trace, search dogs that lose the scent unexpectedly, and the complete absence of physical evidence despite extensive searches. Whether or not Liza's case fits that pattern is something that investigators and researchers continue to debate. What is not debatable is this. A young Filipina woman who loved the earth, who sang about hope, who believed in something larger than herself, walked into a forest one June evening with a smile on her face and was never seen again. She deserved to come home. Cases like Liza's remind us of something important. They remind us that the wilderness, even in the places closest to home, demands our respect. They remind us that no matter how prepared we think we are, nature does not make exceptions. But more than that, cases like Liza's remind us that behind every name in a missing persons report is a full and irreplaceable human life. A mother who cannot sleep. A brother who grew up without his sister. A group of friends who carried the guilt of watching her walk away. If you are ever hiking or camping, especially in remote or forested areas, please tell someone where you are going. Bring the right supplies. Do not go alone. And if something feels wrong, trust that feeling. Liza Dela Cruz was 21 years old. She had her whole life ahead of her. And wherever she is, we hope she is at peace. If you have any information about the disappearance of Liza Dela Cruz, please contact the Marilog District Police Station in Davao City. If the story moved you, please like this video and subscribe to Exposed True Crime Stories. Every subscriber helps us keep telling the stories of people who deserve to be remembered. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss a case, because every case matters. And let me know in the comments, which country are you watching from? This story is reaching people around the world, and I want to know just how far Liza's name has traveled. Until next time, stay safe, stay aware, and never stop asking questions.